Good morning. Good morning. Come on in. We're going to get started here in just a second. I want to get people notified so they know where we're at. Get this word out. And there's always just a little bit of a lag. So we get people an opportunity to jump in here. And then we're going to get started. So there's part of this. There we go. Good morning, chain breakers. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Goodness gracious, getting pulled up. It is Tuesday, February the 4th, 2020, and this is going to be a fantastic day because that's the way I choose for my day to be. Hi, I'm Brad Smith. I am your host for Chainbreakers 365 Live and the creator of hashtag Uplift and Rise. I want to welcome you here today. We are on the continuation of one that we started yesterday, and it was entitled, What Happens If You Don't Change? And we talked about that a little bit. We talked about changing and evolving, but I really kind of want to dig in more deeper into that today. You see, as we are children, we really don't have a whole lot of fear. So we don't have anything that truly holds us back and keeps us from pursuing excellence, really going after what we want to do. You notice that when we start, that some people are maybe just a little more developed physically when we get into kindergarten, when we get into first grade. Maybe we've had parents guide us a little bit more. So maybe we've got a little more of an edge. But people's ability to learn and really progress very quickly is all about the same. Where it starts becoming really difficult and different is as we get older. You see, that's when we start to learn. And it's not the learning that creates the issue, it's the learning what fear means. We learn what fear means from our peers. We learn what fear means from our parents, from our siblings. We learn what's acceptable. You see, at some point, our parents set a bar for us. Is it that a C was a pretty good grade, or were you expected to get A's? If you were expected to get A's, but if holding your hand up in class to be recognized by the teacher to be able to answer the question, if that kind of got scowls from your friends as Mr. or Miss Know-It-All, you became a little more weary or leery of that, and it may have held you back. It may have really kept you from achieving what you were truly capable of. And we start to learn that maybe we need to hold ourselves back in order to fit in. It was that fear of not being accepted by our peers that really starts to form who we are. So I want to jump in real fast and welcome a few people in here this morning. Nat Banks, good morning. Glad you're here. Andy Strader, Laura Saba Berman, glad you joined in. Susan Sherman, I hope you're feeling better. I know it's been a struggle for you lately. I'm glad you're here and joining us this morning. Kim Cardwell, glad you're here. Janine McConnell, Hinkleman, I'm glad you joined us. Bobette Lowe, glad you're here this morning. And I know there's several others. I can see the numbers. I don't know who you are. Sorry. Drop me a comment. Say hi to each other. Say hi to me, and I will make sure, whether here live or later in replay, I will always go back and cycle back and say hi to you. So I want to continue on that this morning because we start learning those fears. We learn fear from being able or being willing to step out because we're afraid of what might be perceived by others. We hold ourselves short of what we're completely capable of because we are afraid of that fear. We're afraid of not being accepted. We're afraid of not of really how others are going to perceive us. But it doesn't stop us from dreaming. You see, we still have those dreams. We still have those thoughts. We still have those desires of who we want to be that are out there, that are guiding us, that are molding us, that are shaping us. But there becomes that dichotomy within our human need. It is a basic human need that everybody has. One, to stand out, to grow, to learn, to educate, to keep evolving, and the other opposite extreme of staying comfortable, staying safe, right? And they tend to fight each other. Hey, Susan Brierly, glad you joined us this morning. So those two opposing forces kind of stop us. We tend to learn to accept what is safe. We turn to accept what is comfortable instead of being willing to take a risk and jump forward and stand out. Hey, Jeff Baker, glad you're here. Adam Klostak, glad you joined in here this morning too. So fear can be a huge prohibitive barrier that keeps us from growing into what we are capable of being. You see, here's something that is really truly there, is that not all dreamers, and dreamers is huge, but not all dreamers are winners. But there is something I can absolutely guarantee you, is that all winners are dreamers. You see, it took something inside of us to be willing to step out and take that risk and move forward. But there was always a risk there. There was always a cost to what it is we chose to do. You see, if we didn't get good grades, then we potentially risked being punished by our parents. And at the same time, if we stood out too much, if our teachers graded on the curve and we tended to skew the curve to one direction or the other, and somebody else got a worse grade because of the curve that we created, then our friends, our classmates tended to jump out and criticize us for being Mr. Know-it-all, being Mr. Smarty Pants, being or Miss, right? Or just creating that different environment. Because maybe we were there and we weren't the athlete, we were the last to be chosen when we split up into teams in PE class, right? So there's a lot of costs that come to it. But even as we continue to grow and evolve, there becomes even more. When we get into that middle school age, peer pressure is probably greater there in early high school than it has ever been. We want to fit in. That becomes a huge driving force, almost driving beyond anything else. And unfortunately, that's where a lot of bullying really starts. But you see, my friends, there is a key difference. If you, as an adult still, are being a bully to others, if you are putting others down because of some inherent need in yourself, what you're really saying is how small of a human being you are, that the only way you can feel better is by putting somebody else down. And that, my friends, is no place to be. But unfortunately, we teach that to our children. In many cases, our children now become bullies themselves. You see, if we criticize our children too much, they think the way for them to feel better is to criticize others. And it starts there in middle school. That's where all those fears really start manifesting, because we take what we learn from the criticisms we receive and we start putting it on others. But as adults, there are costs to our inaction as well. You see, while we may be able to stay in that safe zone, stay what's comfortable, there is a cost to not changing. There is a cost to not evolving. You see, if we don't become who we're destined to be, if we don't become everything that we are capable of being, there is something else that starts happening. Others around us start getting promoted. Others around us start getting the opportunities that we feel that we should have had. And sometimes there's a cost in what happens with your family. Maybe your spouse starts becoming more critical as to why is it you're not being able to do this? Why is it you can't achieve what so-and-so achieves? That's not necessarily good. It doesn't happen in a lot of relationships, but my friends, it does happen. Here's something I can tell you, and I want you to start thinking of it this way, is Danelle Delgado uses this phrase, and it's truer than anything else I've ever seen. Who loses, or who pays the cost? Who loses if you don't win? And I want you to think about that for a second. because it really starts becoming something that we need to take assessment of, we need to take inventory of, because sometimes we can create that initiative in ourselves by making the status quo uncomfortable when we've been staying there because we are comfortable. Sometimes the cost of that comfort can become so discomfortable that we know we need to grow. So think about it for a second. If you don't grow, you don't earn, right? If you don't get the opportunities, you can't move forward. Now, who pays the price for that? Well, you do. You do, your children do, your spouse does, your extended family does, right? Now, who also pays the cost? Well, if you extend that out to others, would you be giving Christmas gifts and other things to other friends in your circle? Would you be buying things for people along the way? Little gifts, little things, taking somebody else out to dinner, inviting somebody over. But you don't do that if you don't have the funds, right? You don't tithe the church if you're afraid of where the next dollar is coming from. Stepping out in faith is something else, but that we don't end up blessing our church. We don't become blessings to other charitable organizations. We don't become blessings in our communities. If you have more money, don't you also potentially spend more money? Maybe I can afford that nicer car. Maybe I can afford that nicer home. Maybe I can afford nicer clothes for my family. And because of that spend, you now are blessing and extending the capabilities and opportunities in your entire community. So your family pays the cost, your church pays the cost, your charitable organizations that have a meaning to you pay the cost. Your businesses that you frequent or that you would frequent if you had the disposable income, they pay the cost. Your entire community that you interact with pays the cost if you don't win. You see, taking that risk, you're not the only one that loses if you don't win. There is a huge area of influence that you are potentially losing if you don't step in to take advantage of opportunity. The other part of it is what you need to really understand is that opportunity gets neglected when we are afraid of moving out of our comfort zone. You see, when we take daily inventory of what we are grateful for, more is given. It's truly there all the time. It is truly always available, but those doors of opportunity don't always open to those who have a negative mindset, who don't see the potential for growth, who don't see the opportunity out there. But when you are grateful, you see more opportunity. And when you see more opportunity, there's more opportunity to step into, more opportunity to take advantage of, and there is more opportunity for success that you will never, ever envision with the negative mindset. You see, it all begins back on gratitude. Those who are not grateful, if you are the person who takes the one talent in the parable of the talents in the Bible and buries your talent, and I'm going to extend that and say your talent in working with people, your talent in management, your talent in leadership, your talent in organization, your talent in time management, your talent in business administration, your talent there, it goes on and on and on. Maybe it's in teaching, maybe it is in science and in the medical field, maybe it is in discovery, maybe it is in engineering. And if you aren't taking advantage of the talent you have, if you're burying your talent, everybody around you loses. Now, here is what I also want you to realize. When that talent was taken away from them and given to somebody else, that is the same thing as you not seeing that opportunity and somebody else taking advantage of it. My friends, who's going to lose if you don't win? Who's going to lose if you don't win? And tomorrow we're going to talk about the discipline behind taking action. I want to thank you for being here today. If this has been meaningful, please tag somebody in that you know needs to hear this. Share this out on your page. Share this out to your friends. Share this out to your family members. Talk about it at work. And if you have trouble finding it in replay, you can always go to my YouTube channel, Chainbreakers 365, or you can go to chainbreakers365.com, where you'll find our entire library there. But please join us here tomorrow morning, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning at 7:30 a.m. Eastern for Chainbreakers 365 Live. Thanks so much, my friends, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Bye now.